Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Say Report. It is I, Siege and Sarowick, one of your many hosts, the other being, of course, Decker.
One of your many hosts.
Devin. You know, many, two, whatever. What constitutes a many, really?
I guess I think more than two, because two is a couple, a duo.
So it's like more than a few, many.
I guess many, I don't know. I've never actually considered how many is a many.
Right.
Well, I know
See,
that a shindig is any party consisting of more than four people. And less than four is a dig shin. That's probably a lie. That's what someone told me in high school. And I'm like, yeah, why the fuck not high school, right? Gotta believe everybody.
Actually, for most teens, that's about the time when they stop going along with everybody, and being independent and whatnot.
You know what I learned in high school, though, is that I can believe people, but then it doesn't need to affect my life.
You led a very different high school experience.
I led the most different high school experience, but is that what we want to do tonight? High school stories?
Oh God, no, never. That will be the one thing we never talk about.
All right, deal. I'm okay with high school never entering into it. So it was my senior year, and
okay.
No, fuck that. You set the ultimatum, buddy, and I will follow you. Maybe if we get fan demand, that'll be a very special episode.
Oh my God, the high school years.
The high school years. Oh man, we could start it with Joe Cocker's. We started with Joe Cocker's version of that song that he did for the Wonder Years. Have a little help in my friend. What?
Oh my God.
What would you do if I sang on it too? What the fuck is the name of that song? It goes into it from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Billy Shears, what would you think if I sang? With a little help from my friends. I got there on my own. I didn't need any help from my friends.
Help from my friends.
Because you were just sitting there silent.
I was like, time in a bottle? I don't know what we're doing.
Time in a Bottle is not the Beatles.
I know.
Siegen, real question right now. Who sings Time in a Bottle?
I don't know. I was trying to think of songs that might have been on the Wonder Years. That's all. That was my criteria, not the Beatles.
I am literally fuming with rage that you do not know who sings Time in a Bottle. You are lucky for the first to know.
Who is it?
Jim Croce. This is the one
I said
time.
Croker, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought you meant Joe Cocker.
I don't even know. I was probably conflating the two is what was happening.
Oh, that's terrifying. That's the scariest thought I've ever had in my whole life.
Oh my God. You're yelling at me about nonsense.
Only time I have ever been happy that you are recording so far away from me. Because my anger at you in this moment will dissipate. Otherwise, you'd be getting a real back slap to the head.
Let's give you another reason to be angry with me, Devin. I did not go and see Ghost in the Shell.
When the microphones failed the first time we tried to tape this episode, I'm going right fucking inside baseball with this shit. I wasn't going to bring it up. I'm like, we're just not talking about Ghost in the Shell tonight. Siegen dropped the ball despite opening the day with, hey, I should go see Ghost in the Shell today so we can talk about it, right?
I said I will see what I can do. That's what I said. And when I looked and saw that all of the theaters around me have stopped playing it, I decided it wasn't worth me driving an hour to go see that movie.
Did you at least go see The Fate of the Furious then?
No, I'm seeing Fate of the Furious this week.
Oh,
Fate
okay.
of the Furious
You got to see Fate of the Furious.
No, what I actually did, though, is I watched the very first Fast and the Furious and then Fast 5 yesterday. Those are the two that I chose to watch. But I did, in fact, watch them yesterday with the anticipation of going to see Fate of the Furious at some point this week.
Who played Jesse Pinkman in fucking Breaking Bad? I can't think of his last name. Thank you, Aaron Paul. He dies in the first one, right?
No, he's not in them. That's not Aaron Paul. He's like surrogate Aaron Paul. I know exactly who you're talking about.
I was convinced that Aaron Paul was the one who died in the first Fast and Furious movie.
Although Aaron Paul does have a Fast and the Furious style movie that came out right after he got off
Need for Speed.
Yeah, it was Need for Speed. It was the Need for Speed movie
with Michael Keaton because
why the fuck not? Because if you're making a Need for Speed movie, you just kind of go balls out.
I didn't hate Need for Speed. I'm gonna put that out there.
I do.
Wait, it's okay. So it isn't. So I don't feel like a total asshole because I'm sitting there like. So here's the thing. Have you seen the Step Up movies? This is it. Spoilers.
Yes.
The name of this episode is spoilers because I'm not giving a shit about movies today. I'm talking about stuff that happens in them.
Report.
No. Cool. Anywho, you've seen the Step Up films, right?
Yeah, Channing Tatum at least.
You've seen the first one, or have you seen any of the other ones?
I think I've seen 1 and like 4. What's the break dancing one? And there was like 1 in 3D, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's the third one.
Okay, yes.
There's Step Up to the Streets, Step Up 3D, Step Up All In is the 5th one, and then Step Up we're in Miami for some reason. No one else from the first movie is here.
Step Up Havana Nights. No, Step Up. I don't remember either.
Well, that's one of the best ones. I can't think of the name of it. The 4th one's actually very, very enjoyable. But okay, so if you only ever seen that, you've seen a later Step Up movie and you've seen the first Step Up movie. And I compare the two series, Fast and the Furious and Step Up. The trajectories are very, very similar. Because
yeah, you're not wrong.
Because the first movie in both of those cases is like basic fucking we want to appeal to teenagers, and both of them, spoilers, I already said that, right? Hashtag spoilers, have a death of a character that like from the minute one, if you've ever seen a movie, you're like, oh, that person's gonna die.
Yeah,
that's the only reason you exist.
Mm-hmm. He's the exact same character from Four Brothers. The squirrely, scrawny white brother gets killed in Four Brothers, which it's that exact moment when you see him, you're like, oh, out of all of the main characters, you're the one that's gonna die. That's why you're here. You're here for us to care about for all of 40 minutes, and then your death will be what brings the team together.
You're here for me to care about just enough so that it hurts when they take you away from me.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then I think about it and then Step Up 2, no, it's just like we're dancing for the streets. And like Too Fast, Too Furious is like almost a parody of the first Fast and Furious film. So like you have these two movies.
Well, they were like, oh, that first movie was way too serious, and then they swung way too hard in the other direction and made like almost a comedy. Yeah.
So like that's what they do.
Cop comedy.
But then it's like a buddy cop movie, like 100%. Like the genres for the Fast and Furious movies they just constantly changing genres. Tokyo Drift is the Karate fucking Kid with cars. Like
yes.
Let's just be honest about it. Karate Kid 2. Let's Gloria Love. But
yeah.
But I just think it's such an interesting thing that these two series that have like really persevered. Though the 6th Step Up film, I mean, I gotta give kudos where kudos are due to this. I was watching Superstore. Do you watch Superstore on NBC?
Oh yes, I do.
Okay, so then did you see the episode where Cheyenne's like, and then in Step Up 5 they're all in, but in Step Up 6 none of them are in.
None of them are in. Yeah.
So at the time. At that moment, I'm thinking it's like when in American Dad they have the episode where they find the shooting script for the Fast and Furious 7.
Yes, and it has all of the gay sex scenes.
And it's all the gay sex scenes that get cut out for American release, but that's why it's a worldwide phenomenon. That happened before there was going to be a Fast and Furious 6 or 7 that episode. Like they were like, oh, we're pushing ourselves far enough out so that this will be funny because they're never really going to make a Fast and Furious 7, right? They said in the writer's room of American Dad. The 8th one just came out this weekend.
Surprise.
So, like, Cheyenne makes that joke in Superstore. This is going to be, like, probably the hardest thing to follow, and I'm so sorry. About none of them being in, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then I'm like, oh, are they making Step Up 6, right? Like, how funny is it? Step Up 6 is a real thing. They hope to release it this year. It is being shot in China by a Chinese film company, and it includes none of the original cast members.
Amazing.
So,
oh my God.
It's true. Step Up 6. Nobody's in.
But if you think about it, right, you can actually trace this back to marketing and the idea that these two franchises are the most overly manufactured franchises ever, but they're done so well that audiences don't care. Because when you go and see Fast and the Furious, like, there was a clear moment when the marketing team for that production company was like, we could continue this franchise for a little bit more if you went in this direction. And that's like Fast and the Furious, right? Like the 4th one.
Yeah.
When they're just like, if you go hard into this weird thing, this like soap opera. We could do at least another one or two of these, and it blew up, right? And the same thing for the Step Up movies is at some point they're willing to just everything out and fuck with the formula to just keep making them. It's like I don't care. Like if any other time I would be pissed off and be like, it's just the capitalism at its worst and all that shit. But for some reason with Fast and the Furious or even the Step Up movies, I'm just like, yeah, I'll sit through another one of those.
Yeah, because
like feed me. Come on, keep feeding
the
it to me.
first time that I saw Step Up 1 through 4 was in a single day, and that only took 6 hours of my time. You can watch the first 4
yeah,
Step
they
Up
come in at
movies.
the 80-minute mark.
It's
Yeah.
6 hours.
They're real nice.
And that's the same thing where like the only Fast and the Furious I had seen before Fast 5, which arguably is the one where they're like, we don't give a fuck anymore about like we're gonna do whatever the fuck we think is cool, right? All I had ever seen was the 4th one, and I really, really liked the 4th one. Like I thought the 4th one was incredible. So I'm like, what did they do? Like, how did they mess up?
The 4th one was essentially the first one. That's essentially what they did is they went back and remade the first one, but with the characters they still had. That's how they made the movie.
Yeah. But then I went back and in one day I watched Fast and Furious 2, Fast and Furious, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and then Fast and the Furious, and I'm just like, but these are still super enjoyable movies. Like even though the 4th one is the first one where they're like, hey, how about we start giving a damn? All right, like people saw that crappy one in Japan and loved it. We still made money on that. What if we give them what they want? What if we give them Paul Walker and Vin Diesel and, like, don't give a shit?
And they lucked out. Right. They lucked out in, like, a weird way. Like, I don't know how they did it. I don't know who it was. Whoever it is deserves praise. But they lucked out with the first, like, 3. And then somebody was just like, we keep getting real lucky with this. Imagine how much money we could make if we tried. Like, right? And then it became this whole thing where, like, they started into it. So it has the magic of whatever it was before, plus some effort behind it now, and it's like amazing to watch. Yeah.
They're great. They're fantastic. I can't wait for you to see Fate of the Furious. And here's the deal: we're talking about Ghost in the Shell. I know you haven't seen it, and why haven't you seen it? Right? Like, is there more? Is there more behind it than I don't want to drive an hour?
I mean, part of it, the reason why I didn't run out right in the first week was like I had no interest in seeing it. The story is one that I already either. It was going to go one of two ways. Either it was going to be the story that I already knew, and we talked a little bit about that with Beauty and the Beast, right? And I didn't want it to be an exact retelling, or it was a retelling that I wasn't going to appreciate. I know that, like, because it's less than 2 hours long, isn't it? Like there's a whole bunch of like weird
hour and 40 minutes.
That's just it's an hour and 40 minutes. Like there's no way to tell that story as far as I'm, you know what I mean? Like there's tons of reasons why I didn't want to go and see it in the first week, and then by the time the second week rolled around, it's been doing so poorly in this area that it's not actually in any of the theaters near me. So then it was just like, well, then I definitely have no interest in this. Like if it can't even stick around here for 2 weeks, you know.
Well, you got to give it also the benefit of the doubt. The theater down the street from me has 3 screens playing Fate of the Furious. You can go in there at basically any time of the day and be like, oh, I can see Fate of the Furious. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, I
like so that
no
that totally like scraped out anything that was like at that point. Ghost in the Shell was a bug on the windshield of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Well, and they knew that movie was coming. They've been talking about Fate of the Furious for a while. So I also wonder if they released it the week before just to get that one weekend's worth of push, and then like because they knew it was going to get buried anyway. You know, like
was it only
why
one
would
weekend? Yeah, it was because it came. It was 2. It had 2. It had 2 weekends.
All right.
Yeah, it came out Boss Baby weekend.
Why would you go up against Fast and the Furious? Like, why would you? And like I said, you know this movie's coming. They've been planning this particular one for 3 or 4 years now. Like, so like you knew it was going to be around this time.
Really, I'm going to say that Ghost in the Shell, they did a smart release area. First of all, I don't think anybody expected the Boss Baby to have the traction and staying power that it wound up with. The fact that it was number 1 2 weeks in a row, good for you, right?
I called Boss Baby. I've gone out of my way to not see a single preview or anything for that. All I have seen is the poster, and I was just like, and this was like 6 or 7 months ago, and I instantly was like, well, I need to see this with no prior knowledge. So I actually know nothing about it, but I have been telling everybody that they need to go and see it. But that's on my list for this week as well.
Excellent. But that's the thing. So I don't think anybody expected it to do what it did. So DreamWorks released both Boss Baby and Ghost in the Shell the same weekend. When's the last time you can think of a company competing against itself in a release?
Yeah.
They
Well,
hedged their
DreamWorks also
bets.
goes to show the Paramount, didn't they?
Well, but it's still technically they had a hand in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
But
the
you're not
next,
wrong. Like,
yeah,
why would they cannibalize themselves, right?
yeah. And then the next week you had Smurfs in the Lost Village and some other movie that I definitely saw a midnight screening of. I could not tell you what it was though. I wasn't at a midnight screening. No, I'm sorry. I saw Bowling for Soup. So I didn't see anything. I'm like, wait, is anything coming out? No, I can go see Bowling for Soup. Because there was nothing. Like, it was Smurfs the Lost Village and I think The Case for Christ, right? So Ghost in the Shell was smart to release in this, like, sort of dead zone and try to grab what revenue it could grab. Failed spectacularly, right. And now gets left in the rearview mirror of Fast and the Furious. These are just happening. Now...
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
I'm giving you a golf clap over here. That's what's happening.
I appreciate it.
That's yeah.
So it comes time. It's last Tuesday, right? It's a week. It's 6 days ago, and Jeff is like, "Let's go see Ghost in the Shell," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, right? Like I want to see it. I want to see it for the Say Report. It'll be fine." So we go out and we see it. And right as the movie is about to start, he leans over to me and he goes, "Spoiler alert, I've already seen this movie." And I'm just like, what?
What?
Why?
Damn it, Jeff.
Because it's already started at this point. So I'm just like, he tricked me. Yeah. He got me. Jeff Hibbert got me. And I'm just like, okay. So then I sit and I watch the movie, and I am bored to tears the whole movie. Like,
Surprise.
Every time something interesting is about to happen, cut to next scene. And it's just like, what? But that was cool, right? Like, all those people are hooked up together, and they're a computer network.
Well, and
Let's
that's one of the
stay
things
with
that I was talking about with the timing, is that, like, in 40 minutes to tackle all of the insane concepts that are in that story just isn't enough time. So that makes total sense to me that that's what ends up happening in the final cut of this movie, is that they, like, edge into something awesome and then instantly are on something else. Well, yeah, because it's only an hour and 40 minutes and they got to fit everything in that story in. Sorry.
No, it's completely understandable. And then, like, the worst part about it is it starts to get good right at the end, right? Like her Section 9 team or whatever it's called, they get burned, right? They're like, we've been burned. And then, like, all these freaking assassins, like, start to attack him. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is getting it, like, really good. Like, now these people are, like, they know who the enemy is. And they're all, like, showing off their skills. And then fucking credits. And I'm just like, what? Yeah, no, they just arrest the guy who's a bad guy. Movie over. And then he's like, "You'll never take me alive." And he's like, "Okay, do I have your permission? I'll comply." And he shoots him through the heart. And I'm like, what? And then credits. And I'm like,
what just happened?
This was cool. Like, you were having all this stuff. Like, sure, a giant spider robot showed up. And I'm like, Wild Wild West. Are we going to the Wild Wild West?
Why would you ever put a giant robot spider in your movie nowadays? Like you can't do that. We'll for everybody.
Does it exist in the anime? This is my question for you. Is there a spider tank in the anime?
Yeah, there's all sorts of different sized tanks. Like, that is not necessarily the one that I would have chosen to put on screen, but yes, that is something that is.
All I could think was wicka wow, wicka wow.
I mean, like, and to be fair, that wasn't Will Smith. That was what's his nuts? The Joel Schumacher? No, who's the producer on that one that's out of his mind?
I don't remember. He just likes giant spiders.
Yeah, it was trying to put giant spiders in like everything. Yeah.
And so that's just the thing, right? So that happens, and then it ends, and like all I am thinking in my heart is, why would anyone want to see that movie a second time?
So did he have any reason to explain himself?
So then I'm about to like, so that is like the credits are rolling, and I'm just like, and I can hear people leaving, so I'm like, all right, we're gonna have the room in a second, and I'm gonna turn on him, and I'm gonna go, why did you want to see that again? And then before I can even get the sound made, he goes, so I need to tell you why I had to see that movie again. Like, he knew that he hurt me. He knew that I had been burned.
Explain yourself, Hibbert.
And he's like, I needed to see it again because I felt like maybe it was just my bias the first time that made me not like it. But no, that's just a bad movie. It's a masterclass in doing the wrong thing every time you have a choice.
Oh, man.
So you got to see it.
So
like, I have to tell you to see it. And I would tell, like, any... Like, and here's the thing. It's definitely worth watching. Like, there's, like... there's some cool stuff about it. And I mean, honestly, the whitewashing thing, I feel like a lot of the time they talk about how Scarlett Johansson is in that movie, but I have more of a problem with all of the other white people who are in the movie
Oh yeah,
because I'm like, no, I don't really care about her because she's a damn robot with a human brain. That's fine with me. You know, like robots are
yeah.
gonna be robots can be whatever color they
And
want.
there's like, well, and there's like something. There's actually stuff in the anime about how she does look different from everybody else. Like
Right,
the
because
idea that
she is
they cast
different.
somebody that, but fuck that. Like, there's no reason why they could not have had more Asian Americans
Oh my!
all over.
Well,
This
there's one
movie,
guy who
right?
just
Like,
speaks in Japanese the whole movie, and it's
oh
just
god,
like never explained. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, right? Like he's just speaking in Japanese, so we know what a Japanese actor is. We've
right?
seen them, but we're just gonna everybody else is white, and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah,
ugh, I don't know. I mean, like, and that didn't really like affect it. What really just affected me was that like it was a boring film. And my friend Mark, you know, he listens to the show. He's a good guy. We talked about it, and he said, "Yeah, I feel like that movie would be boring to somebody who's never seen anything about this anime, because it just borrows so much from the source material that you would be lost going
yeah.
into it as a complete newbie." And then all I could think about was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix and how I thought it was arguably the best of the Harry Potter films. But then people who were like unfamiliar with the books at all were like, "Well, that sucked." And it's like, well, yeah, I guess so because it's abridged, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
never thought about that, but that is actually true for a particular Harry Potter movie. And there's, yeah, like, I love that one, but honestly, I've never watched it with the mindset of, all right, if I knew nothing, could I actually follow this? Right?
I mean, Order of the Phoenix
Man,
is my favorite book, and that's because like I got it when I was flying to Las Vegas, and I read
mhm.
it on the plane, like just devoured it like start to finish, and I'm just like, this is awesome. Like it just like hooked me from the beginning and kept me rolling. So then to see that and like all that stuff that like is buried so deep in my mind because of the whole shared experience of reading Order of the
Right?
Phoenix, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
movie shined for me. But then like I when we went, Dale was with us. We did a whole day before it. I don't know if you recall that. Like that was a good day when we saw Order of the Phoenix. We went up to Leominster and ate at Borders before they
Oh,
closed. They're
very
closed now.
nice.
Their food was so good. We would drive an hour and a half for Mexican food, but it
For
was
those
good
damn wings,
Mexican
man.
food. Those wings were perfect. I'm sorry. Memories, and I'm just drifting to all these beautiful moments. And then we saw that movie, and I remember Dale being like, I'm a little lost as to what happened. And I'm like, how are you lost? Like, da, da, da. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't in the movie. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh yeah,
right.
that wasn't in the movie.
Oh man. Well, that's awesome that you went and had that experience. I guess I could look forward to that fun time as
Oh
well.
man. Oh, also last thing, right? So they've recently redone. We saw it at the North Attleboro Showcase Cinema, and they've recently redone it to have the reclining chairs. So it's
Ooh.
like flat with the reclining chairs. So like this is exciting, right? It's the same price as a regular ticket. There was no like premium to see it like that. So they did it the right way. Then we see the movie. It was hot as balls in that movie theater. And I don't know if that's because I'm sitting on leather,
No.
so it's just like collecting the heat and reflecting it back to me, or like they just didn't like, oh, everything's ready except the AC in here. Because I don't know about you, but I love a freezing cold movie theater.
I guess I've just always that's what a movie theater is to me. If it's not freezing cold, then something's wrong.
Then there's a problem, right? Well, that's
Yeah, right.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the Dirt Theater over in East Providence. We were
Hmm.
there, and they're like, just so you're aware, that theater's very cold. Like when I bought my tickets, and I'm like, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
movie theater, right? Like, yeah, it's supposed to be cold.
Dude. Ah, man, my chocolate's got to not melt.
Dude, yeah,
That's the thing.
I'm gonna be warm enough for the theater. I'll be so excited to see Optimus Prime rip off Megatron's head.
I'll be generating my own heat. Thank you.
But yeah, so it was so hot in there. I ended up like it was like a strip show for me. I was in a t-shirt and pants. My shoes were off. My socks were off. I had on like layers, and I'm just like, oh god, it's so warm in here. And it's not Scarlett Johansson that's doing it to me. She's a robot.
Oh man. You just can't seem to get past this part. Oh man.
Well, like it's like also it's weird that like is Scarlett Johansson gonna play regular humans ever again? Because like Lucy, she ends up as a computer. Her, she's a computer. Goes
Yeah,
in the shell, she's
under
a
the
human
skin.
brain in a computer.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. So I look forward to that experience.
No, I
But
mean I definitely look forward to you seeing it. I'd like to hear your response to it, but like as a complete noob going in to see Ghost in the Shell. And here's the thing, I still would recommend you see it because like there are some cool moments, but the story itself is boring because it never gives you any reason to really care about these characters. It's very A to B storytelling.
that's so disappointing.
So I'm just like, oh, okay. Oh, yep. So that's, yeah. And now this. And oh, yep. Okay.
And I mean, and we're talking about one of the most important animes in the history of anime. Like, this is one of the ones that really kind of made anime like blow up as an art form in America. Like, you know, it wasn't one of the first, but it was one of the big ones that kind of kept it going when it was looking kind of bleak in the mid like late 90s. Ghost in the Shell was one of the ones that was just like, no, this is anime is still a viable option for things, right? And so like it's so disappointing to hear that this is the result of them trying to do a live action version of this, because it's like, no, we've already done this once and it was a huge success. What how did you screw this up? Like, how did you do this wrong, guys? Like,
I guess
like you practically had a successful blueprint.
What I don't understand is this obsession. It's something that's haunted me since college. Is I don't understand the obsession of wanting to remake things in other mediums. Like, I don't understand why a successful animated film needs to be done in live action. And I feel like maybe we touched on this a little bit with Beauty and the Beast, but like in Beauty and the Beast, like they really just recreated it. And I didn't find that enjoyable. So I imagine that like if I were a fan of Ghost in the Shell and I went and I saw a live action movie that was literally just the same movie again, I would also be like scratching my head like, why wouldn't you try to do something different with it?
Well, it depends on like, for me, right? Like the idea of Hollywood redoing stories is not new. For as long as Hollywood's been Hollywood, it's been telling old stories.
The Maltese Falcon was like remade the year after it was first released, and that's the iconic one. Is the remake.
Right. So like that's always been a part of Hollywood's DNA, is to take things and try it and sell them to the next audience in a new way, right?
And that
so that's
comes
like
from
that's the
theater,
reason it happens.
like 100%.
For sure. But that's where like the cynical side can go, is like, well, because it's guaranteed money to like sell the story in a new way to keep the franchise going so they can keep things happening, right? But there's also this idea that like if a new artist comes along and wants to tell a story as a theater practitioner, like you said, that happens all the time in theater. They want to tell the story, but in a new way. Like they may decide that changing mediums is better for the story. Because like if you think about it, like the Attack on Titan stuff, that in live action makes total sense to me, because that stuff is just horrifying, and wanting to see it even more gruesome and more horrifying on the big screen. You know, like
did you see either of the Attack on Titan films?
I saw the first half. I did not see the second half yet, and like, it was just like disturbing in a way that I wanted it to be, right? In the same way that like watching like The Walking Dead on TV versus reading it in the comics, right? Like the medium changes because it changes the way that I take it in, right? So like that's the artistic side of me want is like the idea of making things again but in new mediums provides it like a new way of feeling about them, right? Like I feel differently about an animated version of a story as I do as opposed to a live action as opposed to the novel version, right? Like that's just like I like to think that that's what happens. But what happens in a case like this, Ghost in the Shell, when there's no like effort or love put behind it, that trumps anything.
I
like,
almost wonder if there was too much love put behind it, which is actually going to be my segue into the next thing that we're talking about. And that's when fans make something, I feel like you can tell that it was made by a fan and not by one of the original creators. Because again, I didn't have anything going into this film, but people are like, it felt like a fan's love letter to the franchise, and that was the most disappointing part about the film. And I'm like, oh, I get that, because like that is how every Monkey Island game past the first two feels for me, because it's like, oh, we're such big fans of the Monkey Island stuff, but here's how I would do Monkey Island. And I'm like, I don't know if the characters would act in the way that you just had them act, right? Because you're clearly like, you're so in love with what you're trying to present that you're letting that cloud these actual characters for you. And MST3K, the new season premiered on Netflix, right? Now you are a bigger fan of that than me. There's no way. Like if like you get the badge of MST3K, it's yours.
I mean, like, I don't know. Again, we can go back to the story of how it's just something I grew up with, right? Like Saturday mornings, there'd be 1 or 2 episodes on Sci-Fi. But I remember when I was a little kid, when it was on Comedy Central for that period that it was on Comedy Central, and it was coming on late at night, like, you know, something happened and for some reason I was up past 10 and suddenly MST3K was on, the show with the puppets that otherwise I wasn't allowed to be up for, you know. So like I've got all those memories tied up with it for sure. But yeah, man, I like revisiting Mystery Science Theater now as I get older, become like kind of like a mission of mine to kind of see as much as I can of it and really kind of learn from it, because the kind of stuff that they're doing on Mystery Science Theater, talking about the old stuff right now, is like super inspiring to me. Like the kind of movies like I want to make are in that vein. The kind of comedy I want to make is in that vein. The kind of entertainment I want to provide to people is all within that sensibility of just like, hey, we're all just having a good time. None of this is scoring 100% any step of the way, but that's okay. Like we're just here to laugh at it, right? Like, and I love that. I just love that mentality. So yeah. So MST3K is a little bit in my DNA.
And that's fair. Now, before I started, like I have my own memories. I like we had an hour to showtime, and I threw on one of the episodes. I'm like, I'd like to at least see like the theme song, right? Because one of the iconic moments of that show for me is the theme song, the exposition heavy theme song of the time, and like the really bad modelature. Like it sums up the show perfectly. So I thought, like if I can see like the theme song of this show, like I'll have a feel for it, right? And like maybe I can contribute something, because you said you wanted to talk a little bit about the new series. And I put on the first episode, and I watched. I'll be honest, like, because it was beforehand, and I didn't want to get like roped into it and be late for the show or anything like that. But I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I'm just like, where's the show? Like this is a lot of talking, and oh look, there's Will Wheaton and all these people who like care about it, and we're making jokes that like seem to be jokes about the show and not jokes for having the fun of jokes. And like I'm gonna watch more, like I know I'm going to give it more of a chance, but in those first 10 minutes, it really just felt like fans making their version of something.
There is definitely some of that, and I think the important thing to remember to start this whole thing off with is that this whole thing started with a Kickstarter, and they were asking for, I'm not sure what these numbers are, but essentially they were asking for like $2 million to get 6 episodes out there, and then for every $1 million over that, they would make another episode, and then at some point, if they could, they'd make a whole season and a Christmas special. Well, they blew all of that out of the water. They made so much money to do this thing that they were able to then go out and hire like better actors to be in it, more writers for the writing team, all that sort of fun stuff, right? So like this particular version of the show is like you're right, completely fan fueled. Like fans are making it, fans funded it, fans all the way down, right? So like you're not wrong on picking up on that vibe. But a couple of things that I will say is, first off, that whole like what happens in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the very first episode is really just set up for the rest of the season, and then that kind of stuff kind of goes away. Like it's settled down. It's just that moment is really just kind of them just bringing the show back, so they do make it really bombastic, for sure. But
all right, and
I have to say, man, I was watching that and I was like, oh, this is super fascinating, because there's a lot more of it. Like the quantity there's more of their original material versus the movie in that first episode for sure, right? But quality seems like it's pretty much still on par with what it used to be. So it's still the crappy puppets, it's still like the silly like moving models and stuff that.
If
it's
Crow
still
T Robot were like CGI, I'd be fucking out. Like,
well, right, but I mean even like the models that the Gizmonic Institute model, and like the way that the cars move, there's more moving parts on that model and things like that, and they cut more to like models in space and stuff than they used to. So like what they're doing is they're just doing more of their original stuff because they've got the money to. But rather than spending that, I'm glad that they're spending that on quantity and not quantity, because part of the thing that I love about the show is that like makeshift quality of the
thing, DIY right? of it all.
Yeah, and then like I think the nature of just have trained actors being in your show is things a lot more than it used to, because like not that Mike and Joel never had training or any of those guys ever had training, academically, but like these people that are doing this have been on TV for, this is what they've done. they aren't new to this like Joel and Mike were when they first started doing their thing. So I don't know, like there is going to be a quality change for sure. I've been enjoying the hell out of it because I think that for what it is, it's better than I ever could have hoped it was going to be. Like, it's definitely different. It's definitely new. It's definitely not watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's not like watching the old episodes, but I also don't mind what it is either. You know what I mean?
I think I do understand where you're coming from. And like I said, I'm not going to let that dissuade me from it because that'd be ridiculous. It just, in hoping to try to get like a feel for what the show is going to be, that didn't, I mean, especially because I can't think of anybody that I know. And if you are out there, please let me know. I want to hear from you, who started off MST3K from the first episode.
No, right.
Like, and so like you always came into it and it's like they're on the satellite of love and this is what they're doing.
Hell,
and
half
like
the time I came into episodes, I didn't even come in on the beginning of the episode.
Right, exactly.
I mean? Like, they were my beginning of the season, right?
So all of this setup for like a concept that we all know, I guess it just seemed odd to me because like if they had just started with them in space again, because almost every episode of the show. And, and this might be one of the reasons why, like, I just can't sit and devour it. Like, I'll watch one and then, like, I'll wait and watch another one. I could never marathon MST3K. I'll freely admit that. Is because that the beginning of every episode is sort of like this summation of what the show is. Mm-hmm. Like that's why they need that exposition-heavy opening. And then, like, the brief reminder of, like, you're up there to watch these movies. and I'm like, I'm okay with that, right? Like, it doesn't.
Well, like, and bad skits and like all of that weird stuff that they would cut to all the time, like that's not anything new to the formula, Like they've been doing that since first episode.
Right, I know that, and I completely understand that. But it's just having that opening, I'm like, oh, this is way more exposition than I need, right? Like, I don't need the whole like, who's coming back with the biggest supply of meteorite materials we've ever had, and I'm like. Oh, that's good, right? When they gonna make fun of movies? Because that's why I watch your show. Maybe for like a short interstitial.
I think you're very much forgetting the old Joel episodes. Where the first 20 minutes of every episode it was when they were in like the invention.
Yeah, I mean, I like stuff. I sort of like that stuff.
It would take them a good 15 minutes to get to the movie in those episodes too. It wasn't later on when they started being like, if we just did like a short before the movie, we wouldn't have to write it. And then so like it saved them time that way.
No, and I get that. I know that. But again, I guess it's like what you said is that like very rarely did I ever come into an episode right at the beginning. So like seeing it like that, like I mean like what I think of as the little sketches is like, all right, this movie is getting fucking tiring. Like, this is a bad movie. Let's like leave for a little bit and like reinvigorate you with something.
Interstitial.
Yeah. You need an intermission right now.
Yeah. The thing is, go back and you should watch the episodes. The episode when Mike in. So Joel leaves. Am I doing that right? I think.
Yeah. Joel is there, and then Mike
like
comes.
Those episodes. Yeah. So you should go and watch the episodes when like Joel leaves, comes along, because like they dedicate almost entire minute like sketches to their life. Of coming back and leaving and stuff. It's ridiculous. And of course there's my favorite, the movie.
I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. But then like and that's weird too that I would say I love the movie, because the movie of all MST3K shows the least amount of movie they're making fun of.
The least amount of movie.
But like you could tell that like they poured their heart into it. Like
get home. Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
and that might be the other thing is that sometimes it's hard for us when there's celebrities in front of us. It's a new series. It's Jonah Ray, Felicia Day, Patton Oswalt, right? And it's hard. Or even the opening skit has Will Wheaton and her name now, but an actress along with him in that sketch.
Yeah, like you saw Will Wheaton, and I'm like, oh shit, Will Wheaton.
And it's hard to watch them. It's hard to watch them and. There's this weird thing where, like, when you watch Joel and Mike, who you've never seen before, trying their hardest and being earnest in a really bad joke, like, it's heartwarming to be along. But to watch comedians like Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day, who we've seen be funny before, seeing them flounder on a joke that's not quite working is, like, not fun to watch. It's uncomfortable, right? Like, there's this weird no, we know you can do better than this. Whereas watching Joel and Mike was always just like, this is best I've seen you do yet.
Like, I gotta tell you, like, you watch the original ones, you watch the original ones, and you're just like, I'm not entirely unconvinced this guy isn't actually in space, and he's just trying to be funny.
I mean, like, it's kind of the same. It's the same credit that I'm to like Tim and Eric sketch, where like they have their sketches and those get really uncomfortable for me. Like watching Jeff Goldblum like do something hard on that show sometimes gets a little too much for me. But yeah, watching their like weird extras that they find doing like the background work and doing some of the weird like sketches that they do with unknowns on that show are so much funnier to me. And part of that is because it's somebody that I don't know, so I'm able to like divorce my awkwardness.
It's Russell Brand on the Eric Andre show. That guy is a crazy motherfucker. He is a skinny black. He was there when I saw the Eric Andre show live. He was there, and he's just like, yeah, he just comes. Like, honestly, we didn't hire him. He was there when we went to set, and now we travel with this guy, and it's like, I'm a little afraid that something might happen to him or to us because of him.
But like I am interested to hear if you go and watch the later episodes and just watch the full ones, because like I think they've done a lot of smart stuff. Like I said, I really love some of the new puppetry that they're doing, the quantity of the puppetry that they're doing with some of this stuff. I think that's really cool. Also, the choice of movies has been phenomenal. Worried that they were going to be a bunch of like recent made schlock, like hard to swallow schlock fest films. But I mean, the very first episode is this movie.
And I'm just like, yeah, I went through and I was like, I was thinking that same thing. I'm like, oh, what movies are they going to do? Like, is there going to be more recent stuff? And I was impressed by that. Just based on the titles that I saw, I was very impressed. And I love that they're doing like the one movie and then its sequel right after it. Like, that's very cool. And I suppose what it is it's built for binging. And that is really my biggest problem with television today at all. Is that like, the only shows that I can binge watch, and this is hand to God here, is TBS shows. Like, I have sat and watched an entire season of King of the Nerds. I sat and watched, as I said earlier on this very show, the entire second season of The Detour, after watching and binging the first season of The Detour. Like, those shows work for me. And I don't know why, but I can sit and watch those shows straight through. And they don't feel like they're built to be binged. It's just like a show that I get hooked into and I watch. But anytime I watch like a Netflix show, which is sort of made to be like consumed all at once because it's released all at once, I find it very difficult to watch it all at once because it almost gets exhausting.
Yeah, there's shows that I can binge like crazy, like anything in the Arrowverse. Usually I'm pretty good with like sitting down and watching 5 episodes in a row. But then, so when I'm watching the Marvel stuff on Netflix, like I'm able to, I'm not able to watch those in like 2 or 3 episode chunks like I can with the DC Universe stuff. I don't know why. Like I don't know if it's because of the structure of them or the fact that like is that Netflix and Hulu, knowing that they're putting out 6-episode arcs, 8-episode arcs, 13-episode arcs, they don't give you as much to, I don't know, like grab onto it first because they know that they're making the whole thing anyway. So if you're hooked, you're hooked. I don't know what it is. Like the weekly stuff, they feel like they need to feed you more to get you back next week.
Yeah, like,
and that's what hooks me. Right?
Yeah, weekly storytelling is something where, like, that first episode of How I Met Your Mother, and that's a whole other thing that I would like to talk to on when we actually have some time to get into the meat of that show. But that first episode of How I Met Your Mother hooked me. Like, I was so interested in Ted Mosby and his entire story. I watched that first episode like 7 times before, like, a second episode existed. And it's just because, like, it only gave me a little bit. And that's the thing, is that, like, a little bit over time I feel is easier to swallow, where, like, no, that's not even what I mean. Like, you're right, it's not catchy. Right,
like it's hard to put your finger on.
Yeah, it's
for sure. It's really hard to put your finger on. But something does not hook me in the same way with these shows that are being built for 13-episode seasons like the weekly stuff used to. And I have to say, part of this might be legit. We just need to recognize that we are not the target audience for this stuff nowadays. Like we are phasing out of that. Slowly but we are phasing out of that target audience for this stuff.
I really thought I'd be older before I was the old man yelling at clouds, though. Like that, I think that's what's disappointing.
And I think that if you look at averages, right, like we should be not getting there yet. But the thing is the way that you and I consume stuff listen to this show probably consume stuff. Like, think of it this way. This is a weird reference, but remember Clock Stoppers, the Nickelodeon time travel movie?
Love that movie. Dale
Right,
could not think of the name of it to save her life over the weekend.
Do you know when Stewart is in the time bubble, he is still moving forward in a certain amount of time, and so he's actually getting older faster?
Yes.
We are in a pop culture bubble, and so we are consuming pop culture at a rate that other people are on average or not. And so because of that, we are phasing out of it faster. Like, you know what I mean? Like that sometimes about myself.
I don't know if you have a doctoral thesis yet, Sejin, but that right there, the French Stewart in Clockstopper's pop culture bubble, I'd give you the degree right now.
There it is.
Because you're right. No, that is it. It's
dude, if I get a degree writing about French Stewart, I would love it. Anyway,
dude, the best part is that he'd probably come out and like you'd try to look him in the eye and say thank you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's true. It's just you're right. That's what it is, and it's like why I'm so burnt out on movies this year. Like I found a list on one of those list sites, and I usually hate them, but it was 20 movies from 2016 you probably forgot about because of how bad they were. It was like some long title like that, and I clicked through the whole list. I saw 18 of them last year. And one of them was not in theaters. So 3 of them I did not go see in theaters. But the other movies that they were just like, these were bad movies and people forget that they exist, I went and I paid money to see in the movie theater. No wonder I'm burnt out on film for 2017. No wonder I have seen, I've seen 15 movies in the theater this year. Which is crazy considering how many I'd seen last year.
You gotta wonder when the burnout comes. You got to figure, like, when does the burnout come for everybody else, right? Like we are burned out like this now. Is this going to happen to other people? Does this mean that we're going to lose things like superhero movies, or is VR going to go away because like people have gotten sick of that? Like, it's real hard to kind of figure this stuff out sometimes.
Yeah, the half-life of entertainment is a crazy thing to consider. Yeah, and that is because honestly, superhero movies, I feel like they're on their way out. I mean, as much as I'm loving the Marvel Universe, I'm so excited for Guardians of the Galaxy. And, like, even Dale pointed out to me, she's like, you didn't even really like the first one that much. And I'm like, yeah, but that's like, I still liked the characters. I just didn't really like the story. Like, I'm excited to spend more time with the characters that I love. I didn't really like where the story went. So I'm hoping that, like, the story is better now that we have established these characters as well as we have.
Mm-hmm.
But once Infinity War happens, right? Once everything that this has been building to actually transpires, and like actors who like you now associate with these iconic characters are moving on, it's gonna lose its appeal. I can't think of a way that it wouldn't.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is it's going to go the way of the Western. It's going to go the way of the sci-fi epic, where like you're only going to of them a year from like various companies, and then they'll disappear for 5 years. Then you'll get a few of them in like a year or two, and then they'll disappear for 5 years. And that won't be the worst, because it'll mean that there'll be fewer and far between, but the ones that are being made by people that want to make them. You know, like think about like all the great that have come out over the last couple of years that have just by people that are just like, you know, we're Westerns, let's do that and do it right. And they've been awesome. You know, like some of my favorite movies over the last 10 years have been these like weird little things that have popped up. And like I said, the same goes for like sci-fi, like epic films. Like you don't get enough of them as far as I'm concerned. And so when they do come up, like they're glorious to watch, even when they fail miserably. You know, it's one of the reasons that I loved Jupiter Ascending, not because it was good, but because it was fun. It was doing something that not many people are doing anymore.
God, you know? I love Jupiter Ascending. I am not going to lie to you. It was so enjoyable.
I have never watched a more watchable bad movie in my life, and I've seen plenty of bad movies. Like that is the thing about it that
and I think like that's the reason why I liked Tomorrowland. Like people were so down on Tomorrowland, and I'm just like,
oh, I liked.
This was real fun science fiction. You're talking to a guy who loves that movie. It's on HBO. Yeah, like you think that Tomorrowland, and it made it look like it's going to move real fast. But what it didn't tell you is that it's going to take 40 minutes till you get to the fast parts. And then the fast parts are going to be like 20 minutes of the movie. And then it's going to be 40 more minutes of fucking Dr. House talking.
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie. His name's Hugh Laurie. I'm not a monster.
And I'm all in. I'm all in for Hugh Laurie monologuing as a sci-fi villain for 40 minutes. Like, believe me, I'm totally down for that. It's just not what that movie was sold to me as. So, like, right.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like I was completely fine, but I understood. But like I talked to people about that movie, and they're like, "It was awful," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess yeah, because people don't want to see people talk; they want to see people do stuff in a science fiction movie."
But yeah, so like you get these movies that pop up, and they're not always, they're not always perfect, but like they way, you know what I mean? So that's my hope for the superhero stuff. Because I think you're exactly right. I think once Infinity War happens, Marvel's going to really have to reconsider how they do things, because they can't just do this again. Like, or maybe they can. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I'm gonna bet that they can't just do a Phase 6 and like hope that shit comes together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm right there with you, and I'm almost
so they're gonna
kind
have
of
to figure
excited
something out.
about that. I'm excited for what happens after the MCU, because like I wouldn't mind seeing a new Iron Man or seeing a different interpretation. I mean, we see it in comics all the time that these iconic characters are reimagined in a new and different way by someone who has something important
Right.
to say. And that's what I'm looking forward to, cuz like it's almost like it doesn't feel like homework, or it doesn't feel like a job to have to go see these movies, but like I could see in a couple of years it feeling that way, feeling like, yeah, there's another Thor movie. I guess I got to go see it, right?
Yeah, and so nostalgia has been a funny thing that we've talked about a lot on the. Like, there's this weird thing where like there are certain ways in which this stuff can, and I mean everything that we've talked about today, where like something can be recreated for us, and I'm willing to give it a shot, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is that one production can capture that makes it okay for me, that they went back to the well, that when another one does it, I'm just like, why did you even bother? Like, it's just, I don't know where that line is for me. Like, because I am excited about a new Thor movie, and I don't know why, because the last two times I've gone to a Thor movie, I've gone in with extremely high hopes and come out with middling feelings. I don't hate those movies by any stretch of the imagination, but they're also never as good as I want them to be. So like my my favorite version of Thor has been in the Avenger movies. So like I'm hoping that maybe this one with the new director and the style that they're clearly going with in the preview, maybe this will be the one. Maybe this will be the Thor movie I like. And we've talked about this with the DC universe movies too. It's like, I don't know why every time I go to a DC movie, I come out just disappointed and sad that I went. But every time I see a preview for a next one, I'm like, check that out. And like, so apparently there's something that these things have done to hook me that I don't know what it is. And I don't know what it is about the things that I go back to a million times from 100 years ago that keep hooking me either. Entertainment's funny, man.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the best one to look at for me, and talk about it, is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Right? Was this movie where like, if I were gonna stop seeing Marvel movies, that would have been the movie for me. Like, as much as like there were moments that I cheered and was super excited, the introduction of Ulysses Claw was awesome. The whole Veronica fight was excellent. In the Hulkbuster armor, like there were some legitimately awesome things in Age of Ultron, but I left that movie just feeling nonplussed. Like, and that upset me a little bit, because I'm like, no, there were like really good parts of that, but overall, I didn't like it. And if there were a movie that I was gonna walk away from, it'd be that one. That would be like, I guess I'm not seeing Marvel movies anymore. And again, I could also do the same thing with Captain America: The Civil War, because there was like, that movie totally rides on the fact that there are 14 minutes in the middle of that film that are pure friggin' perfection. And like, okay, that's what I think of when I think of Civil War. I think of that airport fight and just how incredibly engaging and payoffy and fanboy it was. And that's it. Like, they drip dry these moments that are just good enough and just perfect enough to stimulate you to want to go see that sequence. Maybe that's it. I mean, like, that's just a theory, but
I mean, that's definitely the case for the DC Universe movies for me, is that they ride so on moments and actors that I really like seeing. Like, it isn't that the movies as a whole work way, but man, there's like silly ass things in all of those movies that I really love going back to. So like I get that, as somebody that has completely different feelings about like Age of Ultron and Civil War, I can at least understand what you mean, because I have those same feelings about Batman, Superman, and Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on those other movies, but we are sort of winding down.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do a DC Universe thing anyway, so
Yeah, so that'll be a
as we,
time for that all to come out. Sorry that I went where I was, but we're talking about like these things and the when and if the MCU ends, and it's like I feel like Doctor Strange, because it was so different and still so compelling, really did reinvigorate the universe, and that's a personal opinion. I don't know where you feel on Strange,
well,
but
and I feel like I hear somebody say that every time a weird one comes out. Like that's what everybody said when it came out. That's what everybody said when Ant. Now everybody's saying that with and I think that that's just a matter of. I don't think anybody's wrong. I do think that they are getting a shot in the arm every time these movies come out and hit, because they're showing everybody that they be Iron Man. They don't have to be Cap. They don't have to be Thor in order to sell, right? Or in order to be entertaining, in order to hook. So like you're not wrong. Like Doctor Strange did show everybody that Marvel's capable of doing something. It's just that we all seem to forget that they're capable of doing that because they've been doing that since Iron Man. They've been showing everybody that, hey, we can do something really silly and people will get on board real quick. Like that is exactly what happened with Iron Man. That is exactly what's happened every time they've put something new out. Everybody like loses their shit and they're like, oh right, Marvel can do this.
right, but I think that speaks to the fact of like why are people still going out? Why haven't we hit like oversaturation point? Is because they are still able to remind you, and that's why those movies that like Age of Ultron. Of course, I'm going to compare it to the first Avengers, and that's just unfair to Age of Ultron because it's Avengers.
Yeah,
and then that's the same thing with Civil War because of all the movies, that's the one at Hughes closest in line to. But like Winter Soldier, I was blown away because I'm like, this is awesome. This is like a compelling spy movie, and this is what I expected.
Right, and it's why I have such an issue when people about how these movies start putting them all in the same box and talking about oversaturation, kind of what we were doing, but like talking about them all in one giant monolith, like a style of film, because the reason that they keep going for me and keep working for me, actually, when you start watching them, they're not the same. So when is completely different. Man, is completely different than watching Thor, right? Like none of the movies really, like, I can't believe that they are connected in the way that they are because of how different each franchises feel. Right?
I 100% agree with you. And to tie it all back together to what we talked about in the beginning, that is why the Fast and Furious movies work. Because it's not just fast car movies. The first movie is a fast car movie. The second movie is a buddy cop movie. The fifth movie is a heist movie. The sixth is
it's a heist film. It's
the fourth is a revenge story. The seventh is a revenge story from the other side. This last one's a spy movie. Like they're just like they're not all the same, and that is what gets butts back in the seats. Is how are you going to play with these toys in a different way this time around?
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe we cracked it.
I hope we did,
back
right?
To this stuff.
Spoilers. All right. Well, I feel exhausted after like just talking about everything that we talked about. Do you have anything to add, Sejan?
Oh, I am tired. This was a fun one. I love you guys. Yeah.
I love you guys too. Shout out to Milk Boy, South Street, Philadelphia. They got the best damn French fries I ever did have. Try it with the white sauce. Until next time, I'm Devin Decker.
I'm Seaton Sarowick.
Take it away, William.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Seaton Sarowick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.
Mark, you haven't ruined anything yet. We haven't started.
Oh, you haven't started. Oh, well, that's good. That's good, man. Well, I'm glad to talk to you. I've been listening to the podcast and everything, so, good to talk to you. I dig the
thanks.
podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely, brother. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, man.
All right, peace.
Thank you.